What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe Dividends YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to go over all the dividends that I received for the month of October for this dividend portfolio, my Average Joe Dividends portfolio over at M1 Finance. If you're new to the channel, welcome to this channel. And if you're a long-time viewer, welcome back. So what I do is a little bit different than other channels. I show you the actual proof of the dividends that I receive by actually logging into my stock brokerage account and then showing you that rather than just reading from a piece of paper or from a spreadsheet, I'm showing you the actual proof. So my last two dividends rolled in yesterday from BST and JP Morgan. You can see that amount is sitting right now in cash. And then on Monday, it's going to be deployed into the portfolio and it's going to go into the underweighted portions. I'll scroll down here and show you the slices I have it divided into. I'll leave a link below so you can see what the slices are and the companies that are within. So you can see the ETFs portion is overweight, and then the dividend portfolio portion, this is really underweight. So chances are the money is going to be rolling into here. And what I'm going to do on Monday also is I'm going to put in an additional $250. So this will add to that cash. And then we'll be doing a bunch of buys and we'll see those next dividends go up. So we can see here the last year of the portfolio here. This is about 15% of my total net worth. And I built this portfolio to kind of, in retirement, I wanted something that could be reliable for an income source. And primarily what I do is I invest in ETFs like a VTI or VU. That's where I built most of my wealth, but this is just something else I do as well. So it's not an all or nothing. You don't have to just be a dividend investor or a growth investor. You can do both. So we can see the money weighted return. This portfolio has grown some, and it also produces good income as well. Right now, the yield on my cost is well over 5%, and that's why I like to invest in dividends as well as growth. So we'll go into the activity log. Like I said, I like to show you guys the proof of the dividends actually rolling in. You can see the last two that rolled in from JP Morgan and that big one from BST that comes in every single month. So we're going to filter this down to dividends only, and then we're going to go and read these over one by one. They're going to go to my Google Docs spreadsheet, and we'll show those, and we'll reset the sheet so we can reset it for November. And I'll show you how I do that and keep track of all that. But we can see the first dividend that rolled in for October 1st was from ADP for $4.91. And then HP paid $10.01. And then Allstate $6.91. And then on the first to roundabout, Coca-Cola paid $12.07. And then on the second, you can see Nvidia paid a very small dividend of 48 cents. But this is more of a growth play. I'm trying to cover things that an ETF like SCHD doesn't have in them, and that is more of growth. Like they used to have Broadcom in SCHD, but they got rid of it. So I have Broadcom and Nvidia and some others that SCHD doesn't have. But next up on the second, also Kimberly-Clark 1545, and then Merck on the 7th paid 1662, and then Illinois Toolworks 1039 on the 10th. And then on the 15th, this is one of my monthly payers. Realty Income paid $14.99. See if we can get rid of that. There we go. And then on the 15th, also Fifth Third paid $23.48. And then on the 22nd, Cisco paid $13.12. And then Oracle on the 23rd, $9.78. Then here's the last two again. On the 31st of October, JP Morgan 1105, and then BST 537.28. And what I want to do with this dividend is kind of roll it into the other companies to kind of boost these. So we'll see where this money's going to go on Monday. And one bad thing about these dividends are not qualified. It's going to be taxed as ordinary income, which is not bad, but I would like to have it as qualified because if you're single, you can earn over $40,000 in dividends and not pay any federal taxes. So I'd rather have more of my dividends coming from the qualified dividends like JP Morgan, Oracle, Cisco, Fifth Third, etc. O doesn't count, it's a REIT. Another one of those where it's going to be ordinary income, these two right here. The rest, everything else in the portfolio is going to be qualified dividends, so I really want to build those up. That doesn't mean I don't want to add to the BST and O, but I just kind of wanted to make that known. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to my Google Docs spreadsheet. We're going to total these up and kind of look at the dividends, and then we're going to reset my sheet here. So on this sheet, I'll leave a link below to this. This is my Google Docs spreadsheet where I track all the positions. Go to the holdings tab. Right now there's 49 in here. I know it sounds like a lot, but I like, as a hobby to kind of track this and kind of do a little stock picking. And the performance of this portfolio has not been too bad, especially with a higher yield. Overall, this portfolio yields higher than SCHD does. And I'll show you with the weighted yield here of 4.17%. And then here's my yield on cost weighted with all these companies at 5.47%. And my plan is to not have to sell any of these shares. I'm just going to live off of the dividends. You can see the shares here. But you can see how this sheet works. The company, ticker symbol, the share price using a Google Finance function there to pull that. Here's the average share price that I've paid for Aflac, for example. Here's the number of shares I own. Here's the value if I were to sell Aflac. Here's my cost basis. Here's my gain or loss. That includes dividends. Gain or loss in a percentage. You can see I've done quite well with Aflac. This does include the dividends in there. Anything above 25% will be green. You can see Prudential is below that line still. I mean, not terrible. I kind of give it a pass because of look at the yield that Prudential has. But of course, there's going to be less growth. We'll get into that in a second. So here's the yield on my cost. Here's the pay date. Everything on the sheet is arranged by the pay date. So I'm waiting for the new dividend announcements for Aflac, etc. These are all going to be December payers. They just haven't announced their new dividend. What I'll do is I'll change the date and then I'll sort it and they'll be in the December group with the dark greens. And then since we're in October, I'm going to scroll down here. I'll show you. We're in the light greens, and here's all the companies I read off with their dividends. We'll see if we can capture them all on the screen at once. We are able to. So remember, ADP was the first one, and we ended with BST. So we'll count these up. You can see the sum is $687.44, and this is a light month. Most of my dividends are paid in the dark green area because most companies pay their dividends the last month of the quarter. And that is in the dark greens, March, June, September, and December. So we're in the first month of Q4. Then November will be a little bit higher, and that's the second month of Q4. But December is going to be a lot higher. And we'll go into the history, and I'll show you what I mean by that. You can see there's less companies in here. You can see all the December ones here. Here's the ones that so far who have announced. And then you can see it's just going to start over again on the 4th with Verizon. We'll verify that dividend. I'll show you how we can kind of look ahead a little bit. We'll take a look at Verizon here, and they are in the dividend portfolio section. We see Verizon. We'll go to the 1 month view. You can see we were at a high, here that we've gone down a little bit, but that's okay. Verizon is more of an income play, very, very slow or flat growth, but with a 2% dividend increase every year is usually what Verizon's doing. We can see here's the dividends earned, 66.69. We'll see if that matches. So it looks like I did not buy after the ex-dividend date with Verizon. So on the 4th, I'll wake up in the morning. I'll have 66.69. What I'll do with that dividend is I'll just reinvest it back into Verizon. So we'll see the next dividend go up. And you can see that is what the case was for these. With ADP, I dripped that dividend. Same with Allstate. I also did some buys along the way. So you can see it's a dollar. Well, it's well over a dollar more. It's like $1.10. Is my math right? They're more with Allstate. You can see it's 11 cents higher for HP with that dividend drip. But you can see it's higher. So my dividends, these are going to be January pairs. My dividends are going to be higher in January than they were here in October. You can see that. I'm tracking things like the total dividends you saw me type in for Verizon. You can see some historicals. My first dividend with Verizon was $3.50. And my most recent one, which should be in the fourth, will be 66.69. You can see the history of how this dividend has been growing like crazy. Then you can see I'm tracking the last dividend increase there with Verizon 2%. BST has not increased their dividend for quite some time, but with that high dividend yield, I'll show you that it's not, it's less of a problem at 6.81%. And also look at the growth too. Just the percent gain or loss with BST has been crazy. It's been better than SCHD, that's for sure, at only 19.88%. And SCHD has a lower yield, but we'll see what wins over year with SCHD and BST. I'm sure SCHD is going to catch up, and over the long run, probably should surpass BST. We'll see, but maybe not quite the yield. But we'll see over time what happens. That's why I do these videos, so we can go back and look at all this stuff, or you guys can. You can go back to my very first video I did in January 2021, where I went over all of my dividends, and they were a lot lower than. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We'll go over the dividends here. And I did some look back on this. I filled this out. But here's where I started doing the videos. When the portfolio value was at $18,700, I had a whole $37.41. We'll fast forward to right here, October. So we closed out the portfolio value. This is rounded to the nearest $100. $321,000. I rounded it down too, so it's probably 321 and change. Here are those dividends paid. Here's the average monthly dividend. So if we take the quarter, my quarterly dividends divided by 3, here is what my average monthly dividend is, like a monthly paycheck I could rely on with this portfolio at 1,116.22. So just in the month of October, I was able to raise that monthly paycheck by $8.08. That's a month over month gain of 0.73%. Here's the annual dividends. Here's the annual paycheck at 13,394.64. I've increased those annual dividends in just the month of October alone by 96.96. Here's my deposits. So you can see, recent deposits here, kind of been all over the place, as low as $400 in the month, so like $100 a week, and then as high as, this is April, where the tariff talk is happening, where you can see the portfolio was going down. And I thought it was a good idea to I put in about an extra 5,000 in April of 2025 just to capitalize on that. And usually I like to dollar cost average into this portfolio, but if something unique happens or I think it's going to be temporary, I'm going to dump in money, even more money into the portfolio. So the current plan right now is $250 per week. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset this sheet. I'll show you what I do every month at the end. It's just like we've closed October and we're going into November. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this because we already received these dividends. So we're going to go into the month of October. There's a few things I have to do for that to happen. We're going to get rid of this color because we're going to go to the medium green here. I'm big on color codes here. But what we have to do is we have to put in our monthly pairs, Realty Income and BST. So we need to go look up their dividends when they're going to be paying next. So we'll go to dividendinvestor.com over here. We will type in O, it's a ticker symbol. They're pretty reliable over at dividendinvestor.com to kind of look the stuff up. They're pretty up to date, and it's easy just to kind of pull that information and see when the next pay date's going to be. You can see it's November 14th for realty income. But what I like to do is add an extra day because M1 has a 1 day delay. So I'm going to put in the date of when it's going to go into my account, which will be 11/15/2025. And then BST, let's look up that one. I'm sure they've declared. Put BST in there. And usually BST pays on the last day of the month. It looks like they haven't declared, but we'll look at some dividend history detail on them. We'll see in November if they paid in the last day of the month. So it looks like they paid in the 29th in 2024. So we'll take a look and see. We'll do a little bit of research on that. So on the 29th, we'll see what day that was, and we'll see, kind of make a guess. So it was on that Friday. That's what it paid. So we'll say that last Saturday. We'll see what date that is on November 2025. So we're just going to put the 30th. Chances are it could be paying around here with that 1 day delay. We'll see. I'm going to put the November 30th. We can change it, but that's kind of how I look ahead on some of these when they don't declare. Look at some history on it. So we'll do that, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to sort the pay dates A to Z, and it's going to push those monthly pairs. We're done with the October group, and we're on to the new group, which is now the November group. We're going to use the medium green, which is here, which matches right here. We're going to just repeat the process all over again. You can see, remember, O was $14.99. It's going to pay $15.06 next time around. And then BST, we still have some time before the ex-dividend date, so maybe I'll take a little bit of the cash that's left over, and with the 537.31, I may put $100 of it in BST, and then I'm going to make some selections. I'm going to pick 5 companies to put $20 into, but we're going to see like 10 plus companies being picked with this, with a combination of my 5 picks as well as what is underweighted in the portfolio. We'll go back and I'll show you that real quick. And chances are it's going to go to this slice. You can see how underweighted this is. I may do some changes. We'll see. And maybe I'll put this to 62, just to 28 if it, it keeps on going this way. I like to keep this at the 10%, but we'll see what I do going forward. But you don't want to miss tomorrow's video with all those buys, because what's going to happen is we're going to see all these different companies where I do the buys from, their next dividend is going to go up. For example, if it's Waste Management, we'll get them, chances are, probably over that $10 mark and turn that company green. I have a rule for when the next dividend is $10 or above, it turns green. We've got a couple of them that are getting pretty close to turning green. The reason I did that $10 is kind of set up kind of a goal or a milestone for each of these companies and get them over that $10 mark. Oracle is also close. Lowe's, whole bunch of them. Pinnacle West as well. But you can see there's a whole bunch that are in the green, and some are high pairs, especially with SCHD over that $1,000 mark. I believe the last one, yeah, it's just over $1,000, $1,005.38. So that will be an awesome one to get again in the end of December. So that's all I just show you guys for this video were those actual dividends. And again, I already read that out. What we're seeing though, let me show you real quick before we get out of here. And I forgot to kind of do some compare contrast of the last October's. So you can see we had 687.44, October 2024 is 608.64. So it was a good gain there, almost $80 in gains. We'll go to October 23 at 549. You can see how we're just going up, up, up with all of these dividends. We'll see where we wind up with November. Do we get over the $700 mark? Because right now the low mark, our lowest paying month, is going to be in the 600s, getting almost to the 700. So pretty soon my lowest paying month is going to be $700 and my highest paying month is going to be over $2,000. I think there's a good chance in December we can have over $2,000 in dividends, but we'll see. So thanks for sticking to the end of this video. If you get value from the video, please click the like button. Also subscribe so you do not miss future videos, especially tomorrow, where again, I'm going to be putting in an additional $250 on top of this 537.31 in dividends that came in on Saturday. So you can see this, but this money is locked up. This 1105, this is going to go back into JP Morgan. So we know where that money's going to be going, that 1105. But stay tuned for Monday. We're going to see all these buys, and then my dividends are just going to go up as a result. We'll see how much more. But again, we're going to see this go up right here, monthly, quarterly, and annual, as well as those individual positions. We're going to see those next dividends go